Braves trade just yet. Sit down and strap in for the ultimate Supercoach podcast. It's time to win your leagues and dominate your mates. This is the Dual Position Podcast, hosted by Whisperer and SCAdrianasaurus.
Well, it is the very last team preview. It's been a long three and a half weeks. We are very, very close to our main podcast, the official breakdown in-depth ones. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed all 17 teams. Bit of an easy listen, 25 minutes an episode just to get you through your days. Ado and I are very, very keen for the position breakdowns. However, we have one more final hurdle to get in the way, and it's the boys, what are they, north of Sydney. It's the Newcastle Knights, Ado. I have them struggling in 13th. I mean, they could push for the 8 if it all clicks together. They could also get the spoon.
Yeah, I've got them in 14th. I think that the signing of Miller, because I knew that they were going to use Ponga. I knew, but obviously Supercoach in the Daily Telegraph didn't know because he's not available.
Don't start. You started this yesterday.
No, I know that Ponga in the 5'8", but I was like, what are they going to do in the fullback? You know, there was Bailey Hodgson. They were talking about Dane Gagai. I didn't like any of that.
The Tyson Gamble shit. Remember the Tyson Gamble at fullback?
Tyson Gamble. For goodness me, I would have had him dead last if they did that. So look, I think if you put Miller in the fullback, you've got Brayley in the and Hastings, Ponga. I think the spine looks better to me. Not like challenge for the 8 maybe, but it's better, I think. I think the Knights fans, now that they've got Miller, are probably a little bit more excited, aren't they?
Yeah, correct. So just to recap, I had the Knights in 13th. Ado, you have them in 14th?
14th, yeah.
14th. So let's talk about the Newcastle Knights, because when it comes to guns, I mean, 3 years ago I chucked Tyson Frizzell here, but now I'm just not too sure. I mean, 2 years ago I chucked Kalen Ponga here, but now I don't see anyone that stands out. I mean, I could seriously vouch for Adam Elliott being a gun, and that's not just being tongue-in-cheek, because in games over 55 minutes last year, the bloke averaged 70. If we get anywhere close to that, I would consider him a gun, definitely. But right now, I can't really guarantee you anyone to average over 65.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird thing, hey? In the past, we probably said that Ponga was a gun, wasn't he, in the fullback position? Even if he does get 5'8", and I don't see him averaging 70 plus this year. I really don't.
No.
Maybe in the 60s I could see him. The same about the ones that are closest to me in Brayley and Frizzell. Very steady players. Adam Elliott, I think, will probably, average 60s as well. So if we're counting that as gun, they'll probably be the ones that are their guns. Frizzell, Adam Elliott, Ponga. I've got big raps on that Dom Young after what I've seen from him, how quickly and how accelerated his skill set is growing, that he could be one of the top center wingers this year. So they've got some that I think if they gel well together and their attack is on, I think that they could have some mid-60s,
Yeah, well, let's talk Brayley, because I remember 2 years ago, rounds 1 to 10, bloke started like a house on fire. I think he averaged close to 70 points for the first 10 rounds, and then I don't know what happened. He just dropped off. I think he averaged 49 from basically round 11 onwards. And then last year suffered the injury. We got the emergence of Chris Randall, and Brayley was slow to come back. But when he did come back, played well. I think he ended up averaging 57.8 and currently priced at 607K. I genuinely think he's an 80-minute hooker. That they are rare in this NRL, but he's an 80-minute hooker, so that's a big tick on him. And, mate, look, if he can get back that round 1 to 10 form a couple of years ago, I genuinely could consider starting with him. But it's unknown.
Yeah, it is a bit of an unknown. If they've got someone like a Kurt Mann on the bench, could they maybe use him, to spell him? How do we know how their bench is going to be exactly lining up? He's probably going to be somewhere between that 55, and he could possibly get in early 60s if he's sort of doing what he did that round 1 to 10. I think he's in the 60s if he's everything goes perfectly for them.
Yeah, and you and I, we're all aboard the cheese must-have train, so that really only leaves us with one hooker, and is Brayley the guy that you want to take a punt on? Look, if you're very anti, if you're one of those Supercoach players out there that plays with your heart, I love you guys. If you hate the Roosters and you don't want Brandon Smith, hey, I don't hate the Brayley shout because he's going to be a consistent sort of scorer, all year. However, I'm just not seeing a whole lot of upside presented in my round 1 team for now. Hopefully we get closer to Brayley round 11 onwards form, and we can pick him up on the cheap maybe for the run home. He's definitely that's definitely a consideration. And quickly, Tyson Frizzell, his best days are probably behind him. It's been a gradual drop off year on year. Bloke used to pump out 60s for fun. Look, with Mitch Barnett gone, maybe, but I'm just not seeing it for Frizzell. I'm not saying he's a bum. I just think he's in that very mediocre category where I'm not really happy to go either yeah or no.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, him and Brayley, I reckon, are semi-guns for them, but they're not enough to be a gun, and they're not bad enough to be a bum. And that's where I see Frizzell. I can't see myself owning him this year, unfortunately, for Supercoach.
The man's shoes you stepped into on this podcast was Brew, who famously hated Dane Gagai as a pick. Gagai came out and was averaging about 80 points in the first 5 rounds.
Like a 5-round average of nearly 100 or something.
Was killing it. And Brew definitely established his legs for that. But, new co-host, same stance, doubling down on the Dane Gagai, 590k centre wing, anti-agenda. I just don't see it happening again. I don't think lightning strikes twice.
I don't think so. And look, they've got Marju's gone over there. They've got some targets out on the wing. So I think that Gags probably just takes a nice backward seat, and he might get a couple of try assists getting out to these big blokes on the wing, or maybe he gets cut out. I don't know, but I just don't think they need to rely on him as much now. I think they've got some sort of X factor outside backs in there. Before it was real no frills, wasn't it? So Gags had to step up, and he's that kind of player. We haven't really we've never seen Origin hardly ever, apart from those 5 games. We haven't seen Origin
Gagai at club form would be a must-have.
Yeah, must have, but he hasn't delivered that. He was pretty good in patches last year. 590k. No, you're not going to take him over Brian Toto, are you?
No, and I'm assuming it's the same stance with Greg Miles. Look, you're a seasoned Supercoach player, so am I. We've been screaming out for Greg Marju to get consistent game time for about 4 years. Finally gets it, and we're not interested.
Yeah, well, that's right. He was great at on the try scoring stuff at the Titans, but his defense was very average. Look, I just think out there they may if you get it to Gags and Gags has got a hole to run through, he'll go and he'll take it himself.
Gags is not a pass first centre.
Nah. And Bradman Best, if he's not breaking his leg, he'll have a run himself as well. So, and I think that they've got a really nice target out there in Dom Young. I just think that maybe the Titans were attacking left, right, and center, and there was a bit there for Greg Marju. He's 581k, so I think he's probably priced at really the max I'm going to think for him. Not for me to start. If he dropped down to 400 and he's already on 10 tries, and I knew that they were getting the ball to him for tries, maybe I could be tempted into him. I like him. He's a big thing, isn't he?
Yeah, he seems like a guy that if we pick up he's a guy to pick up on a discount rather than pay 580 for.
Yeah, if in the past we've been like, well, I might take a tickle on Sevo because he's 400 or 3 in the old money, 300.
Same situation. Take a punt on these high upside, big body center wings, but don't pay top dollar for them. Yeah, which is exactly what Marju is right now, and I think that's a great shout. Jackson Hastings, 5'8", halfback dual, 548. If he was goal kicking, if we knew he was goal kicking, I could potentially get. If I knew 100% that he was, I could potentially get around this shout. But with the uncertainty of him and Ponga, I'm just happy to leave this one. I'm just going to let this one go through to the keeper. I think I've said his name multiple times, but Sam Walker in a similar price point is a guy that I'm just much more confident in taking. Hastings could match Walker's output, but I just don't know right now.
Yeah, well, Sam Walker's in a hotter team. He's nice and steady. He's probably a better goal kicker as well. So he's a better pick for sure. Jackson Hastings, it's hard to know exactly how that combo with Ponga is going to work exactly and what kind of style there.
Yeah, is he just going to be the organizer? Is he just going to be... Look, Cooper Cronk, one of the best halfbacks ever. Fucking terrible for Supercoach. Could Jackson Hastings do the same thing? Just the organizer and let KP and Lockie Miller just do what they want to do at the back. And I just think that the role there is unsure. At the Tigers, we had much more... direct running. You had Brooks there who was that organizer, and Hastings was allowed to roam free a little bit. I just don't know what the role's going to be, and I'm happy to let this one through. I think we can copy and paste the exact same points from Dane Gagai and Greg Marshall about these guys who, we're happy to pick up at a discount, but not right now. For Bradman Best, 539k. I just think with the injury cloud and the injury issues that he's had, that's just too much for me to spend. If he got down to 400, a guy that I would definitely snap up.
Yeah, Bradman, worst when it comes to injury. It's probably him and Ponga, going toe-to-toe over the last couple of years, especially, as far as heights go. He's just, Bradman Best, I think, has all the potential in the world. If he played a full season and his body stayed fit, I reckon he could be right up there for Supercoach purposes as being one of the best, centre wingers you can have.
I would agree with that. I definitely would agree with that if he could get the game time.
If I watched him and he got to 5 games without being injured, I feel like I've won the lottery.
Yeah, it's a wincing. It's whenever you own him, you obviously wins whenever he takes an impact. Kurt Mann. Now, Kurt Mann's dual status has been all over the shop for the last 3 or 4 years. He was hooker halfback center wing, hooker center wing, 2RF. Now he's 2RF only. 507k. I just don't see minutes for him to be relevant. I started with him last year. He was good, but he was half the price. 507k.
They got themselves a good lock now.
Yeah.
So
bang.
They don't need a filler inner like. Look, Kurt Mann, he's so valuable to a footy team because he is versatile. He's like Peachy versatile.
He can literally play 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 13.
Yeah. So he's hugely versatile. He's the perfect 14. You don't touch him for 507 because he's not going to start at lock. He's never going to start. There's not going to be funny buggers from O'Brien starting him and bringing Elliott off the bench.
Last year was a pain in the ass. Him and Solo, and he would name.
Yeah. Mate. Yeah.
Hey, let's talk Jack Hetherington because he has moved from the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs to the Newcastle Knights. Does have the handy front row forward 2RF duel. Comes in at 267k. Now we touched on this yesterday. I think if you have the cash, pick Hetherington. And if you don't love him, that's cool. Easy downgrade. Rather than if he does manage to jag an edge, which, there's been some reports, or, he does get valuable minutes off the bench, I'd much rather have him in my side and then move off him than try and scramble to get him if you have a Franklin Pele, for example.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. He's not the 230, he's the 260. So moving down from him is easier than trying to move up to him. Like if he's named to start to run on in the second row, you're probably going to say, I should probably go Jack Hetherington. If you've got to mess up other people in your team to try to get the funds, it's going to be really annoying. Look, it could be Brodie Jones. It could be they've got lots of these guys, in there that could take up the second row run on. But he was a signing from another club and
a long-term signing too. It wasn't just a signing that was done recently. This has been in the works for quite a while. So they've obviously want him, which is going to be good things.
And also I'm happy to wait and see on him and have him in your team. Watch a trial and see him run out in the second row. I think he's fit enough to do it, and he's got a good PPM as well. So as long as he's not getting suspended for knocking someone's head off. I can't see there's too much downside to him with the nice handy duel at a 267. Even if he's on the bench, I reckon he probably gets reasonable enough minutes. They've lost a Clemmer out of there, and a lot of responsibility is going to fall to those Safidi brothers. I think he's probably going to get good minutes in that team.
Absolutely. One person not on the run sheet here, so I'm hoping I'm not throwing you under the bus. We know, or we don't know, but it's basically 99% confirmed that Lockie Miller is going to the Knights. For heaven forbid the deal falls through, and they do line up with Gagai at fullback. Christian Mapalungi, a lot of raps on this kid. I think he's available at centre wing. He's 309k in the very limited games that he had last year, averaged 53.5 in just 2 games. Look, if he does manage to get the centre spot, the raps on him are huge, and I would be more than happy to pay 300k for him. But that's a long way away if Miller does sign. We're just going off the fact that he didn't sign. So Christian Mapalungi, chuck him in your black book to monitor for the year if Bradman Best, or when and Bradman Best inevitably does go down.
Knights fans love him.
Hey, look, there's 2 guys.
The Knights fans are big fans of Mapalungi.
Yeah, huge. There's 2 guys in here that I want to spend a bit of time on. So let's roll out Jacob Saifidi straight away. Front row forward, 437k.
Yep.
A Saifidi is must-have in my side, but I don't see Jacob being the one that's there. I do think, his minutes but I do think his average will have an uptick. With, Clement gone, you mentioned there's going to be a hole to fill there. And although I expect the lion's share of the work to go to Daniel, I still think Jacob, a few draft players out there, I think, picking him up in the later rounds could be a very, very viable stream option for draft. For Classic, not so much keen on, but draft a late round steal, I think could be.
Yeah, definitely. He's not the Safidi you want. I think they'll both start. But I think Daniel is sort of the more mature of the two, who they've sort of lumped a lot more responsibility on. I know in their younger days, Jacob was the better of the two, they say. But I think that Daniel is going to be the one that's going to be the forward leader. It's a no-brainer for me which one you want to have.
A current New South Wales Origin member, Jacob Saifidi, I'm pretty sure. So bit of respect there. Hey, Dom Young, I remember, so I started being the Supercoach Whisperer, whatever you want to call it, back in the start of 2019 was my first, 2020 was the start of sort of my social media journey. And the very first post I made was on this unknown 200 centimeter, 120 kilo winger from Huddersfield. There was big raps on him, and his name is Dominic Young. Didn't get a huge rollout, in his rookie season. But boy, oh boy, last year he was sensational, and you've got him pegged as potentially one of the best centre wing options this year.
I really think he is. He's highly desired by other clubs. I mean,
yeah, he's already looking at leaving.
Now.
It's been 2 years, and his manager's already like, oh well, we're bigger than the Knights. Let's fly the coop.
Yeah, that's right. This bloke's in does well. Look, what you saw of him last year in the NRL, and what you saw of him in the World Cup, you're like, he's twice the player he was when he came in. He looked like he had a bit of talent. He had a few mistakes in him, didn't he? But he's worked out the mistakes in his game. He's brilliant under the high ball. He is a good finisher, and he's really fast for the size of him. I really love him. I love him. I love Murray Tuolangi from the Cowboys. I reckon they are real up-and-coming wingers in our game. And look, he's at a price point you may probably not want to start him for $5.52, but if he drops, or if you're looking, we go for two. We grab a Tupu when we want to sort of build our pieces in that center wing to have good ones. I would not be surprised if Dom Young is in the top 7. Oh, that's conservative. Top 7 center wingers this year.
I think from memory, I made a post on sort of fullback draws, best to worst. And I'm pretty sure I had the Knights sort of as number 1 in terms of best draws for sort of the opening couple of rounds. Yeah, I found the post here. So I had the fullback draw from rounds 1 to 5 as Callum Ponga. I had him as the best fullback, and that was over the Cowboys. So, if Lockie Miller does click and, you do want to take a punt, damn, Dom Young could do a whole lot worse. And just on that point, you mentioned, last year in the World Cup, the kid when he came, he was 18. I just think, as NRL fans, some of us, we might put a bit too much pressure on these 18, 19-year-olds, especially in a new country, just to succeed straight away. And it took him a little bit, took him 1.5, 2 years. But yeah, he's really cemented himself as a first grader. And I think you're right, mate. I think he's definitely going to become a household name at the end of the season. But I wanted to wrap up Jacob Saifidi and Dom Young, because there's 2 boys I want to spend a bit of time on. The first one being Daniel Saifidi. Now, all preseason I had him as my must-have forward. He has slipped to second spot. I think Tom Gilbert has taken that mantelpiece now that he's getting the 13. But boy, oh boy, for a guy, one who had a terrible year with injuries last year, combined with the fact that he used to be a bona fide, or this not even 2 seasons ago, averaged 60, now loses former State of Origin and international, partner with him up top. I just think Adam O'Brien, a coach with his back against the wall, quite desperate, is just going to look to his, leader of the pack here, and Daniel Saifidi, and just say, look, I need you this year, and we're going to get old DSAF back, and, at $484K, I'm all over it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've seen a few chats on the social saying, oh, he's a bit no frills and he's not going to get you more than 55, 60.
Bullshit. He's a try-scoring front rower, for God's sake.
He's a try-scoring front rower. So I reckon I could see a potential for 5, maybe 6, 7 tries this year. I think he's going to probably get more minutes because you've taken Clemmer out of there. And he's going to be, he's further off that injured season. So I think he's in for a big year. For $484, people are going to go and buy, I I don't know who's someone else that's more expensive that everyone's buying.
The same price people are getting Welch, who is coming off an Achilles injury, which we know statistically is slow. And I understand, same thing, leader of the pack at Melbourne, but I'd just rather take a guy who, is underpriced because of injuries last year that aren't major injuries. They were just niggles that held him down, rather than a Welch. Or even a Thompson,
and walking into a bigger role.
Exactly.
And you take a climber out of it.
Someone like Thompson is competing with a lot of mouths as well. So I just think all signs point to Saifidi, but all signs definitely point to Adam Elliott. Now, I don't know why he's so lowly owned. I genuinely think this guy could be borderline keeper. And I don't use that term loosely. I genuinely think he could be, come the end of the season, your fourth 2RF that you rotate through. The bloke in 55-minute games last year averaged 70.0 points a game. And I understand you're going to a worse team, but your play style don't change, I don't think. I don't think Adam O'Brien looks at all the impact that he had, Adam Elliott had for the Raiders, and just his ability to keep the play going, break tackles, get through work, and just say, you know what, we're going to stop that. I just think Adam Elliott for 565. If you take out the games that he started off the bench, I mean, this bloke would be priced at 630, 640, and we're getting him at a discount rate. I can only speak so highly of Adam Elliott. Please throw some cold water on me, potentially cool me down, or get around him with me.
Well, look, I'll tell you this. I'm a Raiders fan, and I loved Adam Elliott. I think he was such a great player for us. I was so sad for him to go. That's actual NRL. Look, playing devil's advocate, O'Brien is a lunatic. His job is massively on the line. He has shown a potential to fart ass around in the 13 position, probably more than any other position on his field. So
yeah, but this is no Connor Watson. This is not a versatile player that can come off. Adam Elliott, man. Adam Elliott, impact guy. Millie Boyle, he lives with her now. They're together. Narrative season. I'm all aboard Adam Elliott, man.
Well, what do you really honestly think his minutes will be there at the Knights?
Good. 62, 63?
63 minutes. He goes at probably, what, a 1.1 or something?
Look, I've got him pegged, I don't know about minutes, but I've got him pegged at about a 66 to 68 average. And he's priced at a 53. So that's fucking 15 points of value.
Yeah, look, I reckon if you get Elliott, you're not going to get anything lower than 50 out of him. No. That's just the way he is. He doesn't score. He doesn't have quiet games. He's not in the same mold as like a Hamoli and them that relies on attack.
And he has attack though.
He'll get a bit of that.
And he'll
get a bit of that. But he's got good base in tackles and that sort of stuff as well. So I don't hate it. I think if you're looking for somebody in that price point, 565. We've talked about Butcher. I've got Niokore and stuff who are a bit cheaper than them, but we were talking about Barnett. I prefer Elliott to Barnett.
TPJ is a similar price as well. I mean, I'm just preferring Adam Elliott here. And all right, someone clip this up or remind me of this. I would be shocked if he's averaging less than 64. All right, I know I said 68 before, but 64 points is still 10 points of value, which is what we look for. And I genuinely think he could come round 27. He could be a guy that is, one off your bench, two off your bench, when depth is key and you built up your 2RFs, you've got your Fafitas, you've got your Murrays. I think Adam Elliott could be a staple there. I remember, Ado, I got bathed. I bought him after his game at hooker for the Raiders last year, and I got rinsed.
You boosted for Elliott.
I boosted for Elliott, and boy, it paid off. So I'm happy about that, but I'm happy to go back to the well. The only issue I have with Adam Elliott is he is my marquee 2RF. I don't have anyone more expensive. He is my guy. So that's probably the only weakness in the Adam Elliott debate is he is the guy for me. I don't have a Fafita. I don't have a Murray. I got no one else to hold his hand. He's got to be the leader in my team.
Yeah, I think for other people that could be a scary prospect is relying on him as your 2RF1. But you got to save somewhere. And in the second row, if he's scoring 64 for that price and Angus scores 70 for his extra, or Murray scores an extra 7, I think that the value outweighs those 7 points. At time of recording him, Adam Elliott is 4% owned. I'm going to check back that stat in 24 hours and see what we're at. Well, I mean, I've had Adam Elliott in my team. I don't know if anyone listens to my podcasts, the old Supercoach Guns and Adrianasaurus there. We've been doing team previews. We go over our teams, and I've had Elliott in there, and he's always like, oh, you've been talking to the Whisperer. And I'm like, no, he was in my team last year, and I liked him. He's gone off to a team. He's a bigger fish in that team as well, isn't he? That Pond over there at the Knights, he's in our team. In the Raiders, we've got Hudson Young, we've got Tappaney, we've got Elliott Whitehead, you got Papa. We had big names in there, and he couldn't quite get the minutes that he can easily play in that team. He's going over there where you lose Barnett, you lose Clemmer. You've probably got two big boys in Saifidi and Jacob. Jacob could probably do bigger minutes, but I don't think both of them could handle big minutes. I think there's minutes. There's more minutes there on offer for him. So, I don't think it's going to shoot anyone in the foot.
It's no longer boost for Elliott Ado. We're starting with Elliott.
It's a boost.
And I'm not too sure whether it be Monday or Tuesday. We will be back with episode 1 of the official podcast, I guess. Yeah, these team previews have been fun. They've been lighthearted. They've just been sort of our general thoughts. But the team, the position podcast, where we're really going to break down the nooks and crannies.
Properly. We'll leave the beers in the fridge. Well, before we go, what about Miller?
He's
available in the center wing. He's in the 500s.
I had him written down here. I forgot to mention him. I was too aroused from Adam Elliott. Look, Lockie Miller, he's been in my side. He's been out of my side. I just don't know. I don't think I can go there. I understand the appeal. Would you rather Lockie Miller or Nick Meaney?
Well, I'd rather Meaney.
Yeah, I think
quite easily for mine. Meaney's going to kick goals. He's going to be in a team that's probably going to score 4 more tries a game, most likely, which he could be involved in for try assist / try, and he'll have goals to kick as well. So of those fullbacks that you can pick in the centers at that medium price, I prefer Meaney. But, if people are trying to put a pick, would you prefer him to To'o?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that we know where he stands as well. So, I think but also it's a very small sample size too.
And that's the problem. You're paying a lot of money for a small sample size, but look, we will dive into all this. We'll dive into the tackle breaks, the stats, everything heavy with the position podcast. These team previews, as we've said, have been a lot of stuff off the dome that we've thought of. But thank you so much for sticking with us through the first 17 episodes. It's been fun, but get ready, strap in. We've got a lot of things coming, and we will see you on the other side. Ado?
Looking forward to it.
See you guys.